Assalamualaikum, I bid to my lecturer Dr. Muhammad ZULKIFLI. We are from Ba2355A. Today, my group and I will present regards the mental well-being among first-year university students. Our group consists of 5 members, including myself, NURFARHANA, Mimi SYAZWANA, NORAZIELA, NORAZIEHA, and NURFATIN NAJIHAH. First thing first, the outbreak of COVID-19 has encountered began in Wuhan City and rapidly expanded throughout the globe. On January 2020, the first case has been discovered in Malaysia and gradually increased until now. Because of the outbreak, many industries has affected, including economy sector and academic institution. In order to cope this issue, the government announced the lockdown, forced isolation, physical distance and quarantine. Because of that, most of the institutions are implementing e-learning as the most appropriate method to continue students' education. Therefore, mental health issues associated with COVID-19 has become complex than before because it might happen due to many associated factors including implementing online learning method, academic workload, social support, financial problem, social media usage and many more. Next, the research objective for this study is to identify the level of mental well-being among respondents and to identify the association between 5 variables which are implementing online learning method, academic workload, social support, financial problem and social media usage with the mental well-being among respondents. In addition, the research question for this study are what is the level of mental well-being and what is the association between the implementing online learning method, academic workload, social support, financial problem and social media usage with mental well-being among respondents. Plus, this is conceptual framework for this study. There are 2 variables which are independent variables and dependent variables. There are 5 independent variables which are implementing online learning method, academic workload, social support, financial problem and social media usage. The dependent variable is mental well-being. The purpose of choosing these 5 factors is all of the 5 factors have a big potential that influence mental well-being among university students. There are 5 hypotheses to be tested in this study. There is a significant relationship between implementing online learning method, academic workload, social support, financial problem, and social media usage with the mental well-being.
Greetings to my lecture. My name is NORAZIELA BINTI and I will be explaining the first part of the research methodology. For this chapter, it will propose the technique that is appropriate for the topic of study, such as research design, study setting, population, sampling methodology, sampling size, unit of analysis, data collecting procedure, survey instruments, and data analysis strategy. First, we will look at the purpose of this study. It is to identify the factors that associate with the mental well-being of undergraduate students during the pandemic COVID-19, which shows that this study is descriptive research. For the type of investigations of this study, it is correlational relationship as it deals with the creations of a relationship between 2 or more variables in the same population, which in this study the factors such as implementations of online learning methods, academic workload, social support, financial problems, and social media usage that move simultaneously with the dependent variable mental well-being. For the extent of researcher interference, this study is using exploratory descriptive study, where changes in one variables are reflected in the changes in the other. For the unit of analysis, it is individual as this study reflects the personal experience by individuals, specifically the students in University Technology Mara, UIT and Puncak. The last one is the study setting. The initial setting for this study is at University Technology Mara, UIT and Puncak. However, there is no definite setting applied as this study is done in instinctive surroundings according to the respondents' current locations and environment.
My name is NURFARHANA NOORDIN. Next, I will continue with time horizon. Single cross-sectional design was used for this study. This is because it throws only one sample of respondent from a specific population, which are students from Bachelor of Business Administration Operational Management BA244 and student from Bachelor of Business Administration Transport BA247 in UiTM Puncak Alam. This design also known as sample survey research design. The population for this study was first-year students from BA244 and BA247 in UiTM Puncak Alam. Next, we will move to the sample size. The sample size for this study was 103 students from first-year students of BA244 and BA247. For sampling technique, this study used probability sampling technique, which is stratified random sampling. These techniques helps in reducing standard error and more precise compared to other sampling techniques. Let's move to the survey instrument of this study. The main instrument for our study was questionnaire, and it was developed based on well-known questionnaire. So in our questionnaire, we have 68 questions, and it's involved of 3 sections, which is section A, involved in demographic information. Section B consists of 5 independent variables, which are implementation of online learning method, academic workload, social support, financial problem, and social media usage. While for section C, we focus on respondent mental well-being.
can see in the slide, it shows that the source from where we got our questionnaire. The last topic for this chapter is data analysis. In order we want to collect data from our respondent, we have to distribute the questionnaire to all first year students of BA244 and BA247 that include Part 1 and Part 2 students. The questionnaire were given to the class representative through WhatsApp and they had to blast it to their classmates. The data were analyzed by using descriptive statistics and inferential analysis that help to describe, shows and summarize it in a meaningful way. The concept for this study is factor associated with mental well-being among first-year students that include implementation of online learning methods, academic workload, social support, financial problem and social media usage. While the scale for this study is interval and the statistic used for this study is mean and standard deviation. As you can see in the box there, it shows that research objective 1 is related to implementation of online learning method and the measurement is the statement that are related with implementation of online learning method and mental well-being among the respondent. Same goes to the others independent variables. It's just the same thing, it's measured between the IV and the TV. So in this slide, it also shows the same, you can just read by yourself about the measurement of the study. For hypothesis, the statistic used is Pearson correlation and regression analysis. My friends will explain more about this later.
My name is SYAZWANA BINTI YUSOF. For the next one is data analysis and results. The first one is data cleaning. Based on the results, there is no missing value detected, which means all the respondents have answered all the questions given. This study also does not mix negative and positive statements in a set of questionnaire. Therefore, no record needed. The next one is profile of respondents. As for the gender, the data provided shows that out of 103 respondents, 70 or 68% of the respondents are female, meanwhile 33 or 32% of the respondents are male. For the current semester, or known as PAT, more than half of the respondents are from Part 1 with 62 or 60.2% respondents, and the remaining respondents are currently in Part 2 with 41 or 39.8% respondents. As for course taken by the respondents, 42 respondents are from Bachelor of Business Administration Operation Management, meanwhile the other 61 respondents are from Bachelor of Business Administration Transport, with the percentage of 40.8% and 59.2% respectively. Next, this study also acknowledged that this questionnaire is responded by the students who are living with family, as a total 103 or 100% respondents answered family for the living arrangement information. There are no respondents live alone or live with their friends. Lastly, in the context of location, most of the respondents are from suburban areas with 48 respondents or 46.6%, followed by the respondents who are from urban areas with 41 or 39.8% respondents. The least location answered by the respondents are rural areas with 14 respondents or 39.8% of the total respondents. For normality results, in this study, skewness and kurtosis are used to determine the normality results. The normal range of normality results is between negative 3.00 until 3.00, thus indicating that the data is normally distributed. Based on the data provided, it shows that both independent variables, which are implementation of online learning methods, academic workload, social support, financial problems, and social media usage, as well as dependent variable, which is mental well-being, have a normal distribution of data. It is due to the value of skewness and kurtosis obtained in this variable is not less than negative 3.00 and not more than 3.00. The next data analysis is reliability analysis. As a rule of thumb, a reliability value greater than 0.6 is considered acceptable. The data provided shows the results of the reliability analysis. As we can see, all of the independent and dependent variables have internal consistent coefficients of 0.6 and above. It indicates that the variables used are all statistically reliable.
I am NORAZIEHA BASRI, and now I'll be explaining about the mean and standard deviation of the variables resulted from this study. First is mean and the standard deviation for implementation of online learning method variable. For this variable, there are 8 questions that being asked to the respondents, and the answers options are based on 5-point Likert scale. Overall, the mean for each question for these variables is between 3.6 to 4.2, meanwhile the standard deviation gain is between 0.8 to 1.2. Based on the result, it found that the option frequently chosen by the respondent for the implementation of online learning method variable is completely satisfied and satisfied, meaning that the respondent is overall completely satisfied and has no problem with the online learning implementations. Next, let's proceed with the mean and standard deviation of academic variable. For this variable, there are 8 questions that we asked to the respondent, which the answers option are based on 5-point Likert scale. Overall, the mean for each question for this variable is between 3.3 to 3.9. Meanwhile, the standard deviation gain is between 0.9 to 1.1. Based on the result, it found that the most frequent option chosen by the respondent is neutral, which the question are relating to lack of time allocation for online learning classes and academic work, excessive course content, increment in difficulty, and shorter time allocated for tests or examination. For the respondents are mostly choose agree for question relating to unable to catch up the work and stressful test or examination time. Strongly agree is the most frequent option choose for the not enough time to relax and too much assignment questions. For the mean and standard deviation for social support variable, there are 10 questions that are being asked to the respondents, which the answers option are based on the 5-point Likert scale, which is same as the previous variable. Overall, the mean for each question for this variable is between 2.7 to 4.6. Meanwhile, the standard deviation gain is between 0.7 to 1.2. Based on the result, it found that the option neutral is most frequently chosen by the respondents for this question, followed by the agree and strongly agree, meaning that the respondent is overall have a neutral and good feeling with regards to their social support. For the mean and standard deviation of financial problem variable, there are 6 questions that are being asked to the respondent, with the answers option are based on 5-point Likert scale, which is same as the previous variable. Overall, the mean for each question for this variable is between 3.2 to 4.2. Meanwhile, the standard deviation gain is between 0.9 to 1.1. Based on the results, it found that the option neutral is the most frequently chosen by the respondent for the questions regarding to financial burden during COVID-19, institution of the financial, seek for financial aids, and financial coverage from government. Meanwhile, the highest option choose for question relating to financial planning restructure and financial planning importance are agreed and strongly agreed respectively. For the mean and standard deviation of social media usage variable, there are 10 questions that are being asked to the respondent, which the answer option are based on 5-point Likert scale. Overall, the mean for each question for this variable is between 3.0 to 4.0. Meanwhile, the standard deviation gain is between 0.9 to 1.3. Based on the results, it found that the option neutral is most frequently chosen by the respondent for these questions, followed by agree and strongly agree, meaning that the respondent is overall have a neutral and strong engagement with the social media usage. Now let's proceed with the mean and standard deviation of mental well-being variable, and it consists of 21 questions that being asked to the respondent. The answer option are based on 5-point Likert scale. Overall, the mean for each question for this variable is between 2.5 to 3.3. Meanwhile, the standard deviation gain is between 1.0 to 1.4. Based on the result, it found that the most frequent option chosen by the respondents for the most questions is sometimes. This means that the respondents sometimes face mental well-being issues in their daily life. Last but not least is the mean and standard deviation for mental well-being, which has been classified into 3 sections. The depression section has mean of 2.8, while the standard deviation of 1.0. For anxiety section, the mean and standard deviation obtained are 2.8 and 0.9 respectively. For stress section, the mean obtained is 2.9, while the standard deviation is 0.8. As we refer to the responses results, sometimes is the most frequent option chosen by the respondents for all 3 mental well-being sections. Next, let's proceed with the correlation analysis for this study, which is used to measure the relationship strength between the dependent variable, which is mental well-being among first-year students, and independent variables, which are online learning implementation, academic workload, social support, financial problem, and social media usage. The result shows that the significant F change is 0.000, which is less than 0.05 of the p-value, which implies the linear model is significant or overall valid. As the result of the Pearson correlation, it implies that academic workload with the R-score of 0.213 has a positive relationship with the mental well-being. Meanwhile, the online learning implementation with the R-score of negative 0.258 and social support with the R-score of negative 0.388 shows a negative relationship with the mental well-being. Unfortunately, the other 2 independent variables, including financial problem and social media usage, shows no correlation with the study as the p-value is more than 0.05.
For the next slide, I will be explaining the regression analysis. Regression analysis is used to estimate the effects of some explanatory variable on the dependent variable. For this study, the regression analysis is used to measure how many percent of dependent variable mental well-being among the first student can be explained by the independent variables, online learning implementations, academic workload, social support, financial problem, and social media usage. As you can see here, the result shows the significant F change is 0.000, which is less than 0.05 of p-value. Therefore, it indicates that the linear model is significant or overall valid. For the R-square, 0.230 indicates that all 5 independent variables, online learning implementations, academic workload, social support, financial problem, and social media usage, explain 23% of the variance in the dependent variable of the mental well-being. The balance of 77% of the variance in the mental well-being is not explained by the independent variables, which means that there are other independent variables that are not included in the study and could strengthen the regression equation, which model is also fits as the W constant value for the study is 1.933, which is more than 1. For the significance value, there are only two factors that significantly affect the mental well-being among the first year students of BA244 and BA247, which are the academic workload 0.019 and social support 0.000, as both of them shows a value less than 0.05. In addition, for the beta coefficient value for the social support, the value is negative 0.411. This means that for each 1 unit increase in the predictor variable, the outcome variable will decrease by 0.411 units. For the beta coefficient value of academic workload, the value is 0.229. This means that for each 1 unit increase in the predictor variable, the outcome variable will increase by 0.229 units. Therefore, based on these two factors, it can be concluded that social support with a beta value negative 0.411 is considered as the most influential factors that contributes to the mental well-being, as the absolute beta value is the highest as compared to the academic workload, which is a beta value 0.229. As you can see here, this is the result of the hypothesis testing, which shows that the H2, there is a significant relationship between the academic workload and mental well-being, and H3, there is a significant relationship between social support and mental well-being are supported in this study, while the other factors are not supported in this study.